Hi, it is a privilege to welcome you to Stand Up and Redo. It is a soulful, honest podcast hosted by me, Petra Demuse, a woman over 50 who is navigating life's most tender transitions with courage and grace. I have weathered the storms of 2 divorces, raised children into adults, embraced the joy of grandchildren, and learned, perhaps for the first time, how to stand comfortably in my own solitude. Each episode explores the profound wisdom that comes with age, the lessons etched in heartache, the beauty found in unexpected places, the laughter that bubbles up in the quiet, and the peace that settles when we stop running from ourselves. With reflections on love, loss, aging, happiness, and the sacredness of this one wild and precious life, Stand Up and Redo is a companion for anyone who's learning to live fully after everything they thought would last has changed. This is a space for late bloomers, deep feelers, and fierce survivors. Come for the comfort, stay for the truth, and leave a little lighter each time. Hi, and welcome to Stand Up and Redo. I am thrilled that you are here again, and this is a podcast that is on the fly, last minute. This episode is ill-prepared. It's a matter of desperate times because I spent the weekend just really putting my heart and soul into 2 podcast entries as well as YouTube videos that really did spend a lot of time on it. With my 2 daughters, we did a YouTube video, which we did not get to upload because I'm having a lot of technical difficulties with the Bachelor review. And now the Golden Bachelor is coming out tomorrow. And the review that we did that was really funny and really just lighthearted was with my 2 daughters. And it's going to be for YouTube. And then I also spent a significant amount of time interviewing a woman who fled from the Russian invasion, Sasha. And half of her video is actually up on my podcast, Stand Up and Redo, because I really felt like I needed to get it out there. And that was the one that I was able to upload. But I'm having a lot of trouble uploading the second half. And I just haven't had time. Once the weekend's done, it's kind of full force into work for me. So this entry is actually going to be about the mishap that I had, the mishaps all week that I've had. And it's going to kind of settle in to talking about what it's like to live without a cell phone. And I can tell you, I only was without a cell phone for one night and one half of a day. And it was, it just put a lot of thoughts into my head, racing thoughts, and I just wanted to share them with you. And this podcast is a little bit more like what I've heard the platform of other podcasters do, where they're just kind of spouting off whatever they want randomly about any topic or anything. But I do want to settle in on not having a cell phone being the main topic. But the situation was I worked a little late yesterday. I knew I had to be on the road in the morning. Not far from my house, but I did need to drive to have a heavy work week. And yesterday was kind of a weird day. I had to go pick up a rental car. I was in and out of my office, and then I needed to get some stuff done before I got on the road again. And I ended up working really late. Like, I want to say I worked till 9 or 10, just getting some stuff in the computer, some expense sheets, or expense reports, things that I put off. I needed to get wrapped up before I left my home. So what I want to tell you is when I went to pick up my phone, it was late by the time I started messing with my actual phone, probably like 10 at night. And I knew that I was going to get off my work computer. I was going to spend half an hour packing. I was going to water my plants. Who waters the plants at 10:30 at night? I do, because I'm insane. I was going to water my plants because I knew I would be out and about and leaving for my work trip and not be home for a while. Well, everything pivoted at 10 o'clock at night when I picked up my phone and just something wasn't right about it. Apps didn't look right. I tried to pay a bill that I had to pay and it wouldn't let me go into the I have a Barclays credit card. It wouldn't let me go into that site. It kept and then it made a statement, your phone is compromised, you have jail jailbreak, which I did look up on YouTube because I wanted to see what that meant. Now it's interesting because the first thing I did was panic and I felt overwhelmed and I felt like I didn't realize how ridiculously tied into my phone I am. And it just felt weird because I immediately didn't want to do anything with my phone because I just didn't want to compromise anything else. So I wanted to know, should I turned my phone off, and then while my phone was off, I just started powerhousing through YouTube videos. And it was interesting because different people said different things. I didn't realize that there's a lockdown device for your Apple phone, which I just learned. But I was just about ready to do it, but I decided to watch a couple more YouTube videos because when you watch YouTube videos, you have to be really careful. There's like me, I'm making a YouTube channel now, and my videos, trust me, I'm not the professional on topics, but I might spout off like I know what I'm talking about. And that's kind of what happens sometimes when you watch YouTube videos. Some people are really good at having good, valid data and understand what they're talking about. And then, of course, there's people who don't. And it was interesting because two people said that if you do that lockdown feature on your iPhone, and maybe other people know about this, but you have to go all the way back to factory settings and restart everything. So these two guys that were talking on YouTube said not to do that. They said a lot of times people are just trying to compromise your phone. They actually haven't compromised it, blah, 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 blah. But there was, and then there was another bunch of different ones. I could say I watched about 5 YouTube videos. So here I am, exhausted, still had to pack, watching YouTube videos on how to handle my phone, what to do about it. And I did do some stuff. I'm not going to get into the details of that because I don't want you to listen to me and do the wrong thing. The one thing I did do that I felt like was smart was that I took the feature off for each app to follow me or whatever, or to I took that off my phone, um, and then I also did go into iCloud and upload all my data at that moment, which is what someone suggested on one of the YouTube videos. So those are the two things I was pretty adamant about. And then I did turn my phone off. Wasn't sure what to do, not even sure if that helped, but I ended up knowing that I had to go to work in the morning and I needed my map, I needed my Google Maps or my Apple Maps to get to, or Waze, or whatever you use. But I needed to have that for the morning, and I did know the addresses that I needed to get to. So of course I knew the addresses I needed to get to. So what I did was I actually took an atlas and I started with that. And I knew the general direction of how to get to the two main highways, but then it's all those little roads that you have to turn on that are a little bit more challenging. And I was able to find the place I needed to get to this morning, knowing that I was going to just check in there and then rush to the Apple store, which unfortunately didn't open until 10 o'clock. So that was my plan for the morning. And I was really happy with myself. I'm not happy with myself. That sounds really silly, but I had a panic attack a little bit, a true like heart rate, like what do I do? Like when I realized I didn't have a phone, and then I just stopped. I just stopped. And I thought, what's really changed with me? I'm safe. I'm, I have stuff that I need to do before that shouldn't change the course. In the morning, I'll deal with how to get to the place I need to go, and I'll take it one moment at a time, which was kind of neat when you hear Sasha's, I think it's in her second part of the podcast, which I haven't posted yet. I was thinking about her actually when she was telling her story about like when you're in a crisis, you just go one moment at a time. And I by no means was even close to any crisis that she went through during her that time when she was fleeing, but it did put things into perspective. Like, what am I worried about right now? Like, what good is worrying about this gonna do? So I just like took a breath, put my phone away, and started just doing all the things I needed to do to stay the course to get ready for work. And honestly, in the morning, it was very interesting not having the phone and not thinking about the phone. It was liberating a little bit because you don't realize how much you grab your phone. And not doing that was something that I realized I need to do. I need to have designated phone time, like almost like not have my phone be a codependent part of me, but have it be something that I visit at certain times during the day because I feel like the phone can actually control you. Like you might go, and I was thinking about this more and more. Sometimes I'll go to look something up on my phone, and then we're just so inundated with everything else that pops up that we easily get sidetracked from what we actually just went on our phone to do. And it's interesting because not having it in the morning, I did my, I had to get on the road early, so I didn't do my usual routine. I have a certain thing that I do, and I'm going to be really transparent. In the mornings, I do the same exact thing every morning. I wake up and I do like 10 or 15 minutes of yoga, and I do that even before I go downstairs often. And then I go downstairs and I make a cup of coffee, and then I take my cup of coffee and I go sit in my chair, and I do a devotions, and I do usually about 10 minutes of devotions. And I do those three things every morning. And not every morning. I mean, of course, there's some mornings I don't do it, but I'd say at least minimal 4 times a week, 5 times a week, and then sometimes even 6 times a week. But usually 4 or 5 times a week I do that. And of course, this morning I didn't. But it is very liberating not having the phone. And I've started doing this thing where I used to carry the phone around the kitchen and everything and around the house, but now what I do is I leave it up by the bed. And when I'm doing my whole morning routine, I don't have the phone with me, keep it away from me. I used to carry it and still like be in tune with it and look at it, um, which gets to be psychotic. I mean, you get to be neurotic with it, not psychotic, neurotic, or just it just becomes like an unhealthy. I guess a good word is an unhealthy distraction, an unhealthy distraction. Um, and I'm not saying that the phone is all bad because believe me, I'm totally loving making these podcasts and also now starting a YouTube channel. But what I'm talking about today is it was a big pivot for me. So in the morning, this is what I loved. I got in the rental truck that I had and I started driving. And I know you probably, the harvest moon was this week, the full moon was 2 nights ago, and then last night was this morning when I woke up. Actually, the full moon might have been last. Yeah, now I'm getting my nights mixed up. The full moon was last night. And when I woke up in the morning, the sky was this brilliant, like fuchsia. It wasn't even like pink, and it wasn't really orange. It was like fuchsia. The sky was fuchsia in the morning, rising, the sunrise. But the neatest thing about this morning was you saw the fuchsia sky, and then you saw this brilliant, bright moon, and then slightly behind the fuchsia sky and the moon was just this soft blue sky because it was the morning, but you could still see the moon, and it was just massive. It was so brilliant and large, and over the blue sky with the fuchsia clouds. It was just like nothing I'd ever seen before. It truly was. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. And I went to go get my phone, and I thought, oh, I can't get my phone because I was like, I gotta take a picture of this. Well, guess what? Instead of rushing to get my phone, I just looked at the sky for a second, and it was beautiful. And I didn't think about taking a picture of it. I just enjoyed it. And I was like, it's just a good memory that I'll have. And then I went, got in the truck, and started driving. Well, I am in tune, in tune, in tune, always on, always on, always on. My brain is always thinking, always thinking. I don't look like it. People don't realize it, I think, because I'm kind of a laid back, calm person. At least that's what I think of myself. But my brain is just like, it's hard to turn off. And I know, I think my son Austin is similar to me just from talking to him, that our brains are always thinking and it's really hard to disconnect. And I think that's why I love to like hike or walk on the beach. I think because when I'm doing that, it's the one time in the day that my mind just clears. And it's just a very liberating feeling if you're a person like me who can't turn their brain off. It's really like um, just a good feeling. So, anyway, I got in the truck, and usually I'm listening to a podcast, which I do enjoy. I like to listen to like Andrew Huberman or Stuff You Should Know. Um, I really enjoy listening to audiobooks. Sometimes either it'll be like historical fiction or a self help one, or I get fixated on one thing and I just like obsess on one thing on a podcast and just listen to it and feel like until I feel like I've perfected it. Like it might be something as simple as how to back a trailer up, or I mean, it sounds crazy, the stuff that I get obsessed on, but I do focus on one thing sometimes and just listen to podcasts about that. But this morning, I didn't have my phone. I didn't have access to a podcast. So I just turned on a radio station and listened to country music for my whole drive and just chilled out, and it felt really nice. Didn't feel like I needed to learn anything or listen to anything. I just like unwound and listened to country music. So that was really nice. But I also, as I was listening to country music, I didn't have my GPS, so I was more in tune. Just when you have your GPS, you kind of follow it blindly. You're looking, okay, I have to go through two stoplights, and on the third stoplight, I'm going to turn left. Or, I know that's how I gauge it when I'm looking at GPS. I'm not necessarily looking, I mean, of course, I'm looking around me because I'm driving. I can't be staring at the GPS, but I am hyper fixated on left turn, right turn after a third stoplight, cross over these two roads. Like, because I'm looking at the GPS and you can see ahead, you can see that you have to cross over two roads. I mean, I don't know how you all look at GPS, but that's how I do. That way I know which is the left turn. I know I have to cross over two roads before I do that. Well, when you're actually just paying attention to signs and surroundings, and even like it was kind of neat because when I went to the center, I had to go to the Apple store from the center because we needed to get that over with. So I was talking to the two nurses at the center that I'm visiting, and they're like giving me verbal directions, and it was just neat because they're like, yeah, at Tony wrote, oh my goodness, I can't remember the pizza store. You're going to cross that over. You're going to pass that on your left, and then you're going to cross over this, and you're going to see this on your right, and it's going to be this road called this. And it was like I actually had to pay attention to like, oh yeah, there's Tony's on the left, and I have to turn left at this road, and I had it written down on a piece of paper that we had looked at on the computer, and it was just really, um, first off, I've done that when I was younger, of course, because we didn't always have GPS in my lifetime. And I often think about the kids that have only experienced having GPS and didn't ever have to look at a map or didn't have to like write directions down or even remember directions when someone would give you like, 5 roads you might have to remember, or not even a road that you're going to cross over the road that Tony's Pizza's on. You're not going to turn left there. You're going to go straight, and just following direction like we used to, like we used to before we had GPS. And even just really being observant of remembering when I went back, because then it was kind of neat. Because then when I went back to the center, I didn't, I was able to do it without following a GPS, and I just followed the different things that I saw on the road. And I feel like when you're in a follow a GPS, if you don't ever try to get somewhere without the GPS, you don't remember how to get there. I've learned, and I've learned this actually more recently, sometimes if I'm going to the same place, I actually will put the GPS away. I know it sounds, maybe it's not crazy, but I'll just try to focus on recall of like what the area looks like so I know how to get there without using a GPS. I just started doing that a little more recently. I know this podcast might sound insane, but I am so distraught because I said I spent all that time doing these great videos and my phone is so full of garbage and I can't clean it up. And I actually think that's what compromised my phone was yesterday. I tried to put a cleanup app on my phone and I really feel like that's what compromised it. So I'm just hesitant. So I have these large videos on my phone that are going to become podcasts and I'm really excited, and I want to spend this weekend now editing the second one that I did for Sasha, which is actually even a more exciting story than if you watch the podcast Stand Up and Redo with Petra DeMuse. If you watched, I'm sorry, the YouTube channel, the video, it's the only video I have on there, but her story is just amazing, and I can't wait to get the second part of her story up because it's even better than the first part. And I'm like, I wanted it to all blend into one story, but I was under pressure to get it out on Sunday, and I couldn't get the second part to upload off my phone. And I was just like, oh, I was so. And then I edited it in, I think it's called Cap. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the editing app, but it is. I mean, I'm getting tired. It's getting late. I'm actually doing this before I fall asleep. But I edited it a really. I edited it. No, I edited the videos that I had done, the two, and I merged them together and I made it into a really nice video. But then I can't, my phone is so loaded that it's not letting me take the video and now move it into the platform I need to have it in to get it onto YouTube. So this has been a learning experience too for me, and I thought about waiting to even start doing the podcast and the YouTube video until I really understood everything. But I realized it's kind of something you just have to dive into. And I don't think I would be retaining and learning all this if I was just like trying to absorb it all at one time before I ever put out the podcast or the YouTube video. So I am hoping, I am wanting you to continue going on this journey with me and really watching the podcast and the YouTube channel just advance and just get better and better. And the one thing, my mission statement for my whole entire um, platform with social media is to tell stories from myself, of course. And I have a million. I have a million that are going to be well structured podcasts that I'm going to share stories of my experiences and just good topics. I have a lot of topics. I definitely don't have a shortage of topics. Um, this one is very scattered this evening because I wasn't planning on this. I was planning on putting out one of my 3 videos that I have. and converting that from audio to video to get what I'm going to put on the YouTube channel onto the podcast. And I'm learning a lot as I research. I mean, I spent like on Sunday, I think I spent a good 5 hours just researching all these just little different things. I mean, it's so detailed, the things that you have to know. I mean, I even was researching what not to do on a YouTube channel so you don't get your YouTube channel just shut down because I don't want to do the wrong thing. Like, I didn't realize that when you make a YouTube channel, you're not supposed to hashtag a bunch of things, maybe even more than 3 things. And I just decided on YouTube I'm not hashtagging anything because I'm like, I don't know, what's the point? I'm going to try to make the topic as um, to the point as possible in the description so that if people are looking for it or looking up a certain thing, that they'll find it in my title. But I also know that the whole point is eventually I want to get into just doing some really, really good interviews with people who have really experienced things that are simple things that you've experienced in your life, and you can hear how they've made improvements in their life and learn from them, or people that have gone through major events, like major events, kind of like what Sasha's talking about in the first podcast video, and then the second that should be coming out soon once I figure out how to deal with all my um, my IT issues. And guess what? In my new little venture, I am IT. So now I have to figure out how to be IT savvy, which is not my strong suit. But I also can't do it until the weekends. Like when I do these podcasts, I know in the beginning, I told you my son Austin said, Mom, are you going to rename your podcast? Um, Talking from bed. And I'm like, because I do the podcast right before I would fall asleep, or sometimes I wake up at like 4:30 in the morning and I do the podcast while I'm laying in bed before I get up. But of course, the interviews I can't do that way. That would be really creepy. But the just talking, I do, and I have some structured outlines to work on other topics with. But this by no means is structured, and I don't know how long you're going to listen to it because you're probably sick of hearing me just ramble on. But the one thing I did want to say was the time without my cell phone has made me think. Of course, like I said, I'm always thinking, but it's made me think that putting the phone down, actually disconnecting, and not unfortunately, putting barriers up too, even with friends and family. Like I'll check on my mom, of course, but I also think like if you set a standard, even with letting your friends know, hey, I probably am not going to look at my phone after 9 o'clock at night. So if you really need to reach me, you're going to have to try to call me because I'm not going to look at a text. I'm not going to look at an email. I think setting those standards is kind of important to have first a good work life balance, or phone life balance. Maybe not even a work life balance, a phone life balance, but a good, I don't know, I feel like you can get sucked in to social media and essentially lose yourself. Like you lose yourself. You really do. I feel like you need to put your phone down. You need to be alone with yourself and not in your phone, not scrolling, not searching, not absorbing these mass amounts of information that come your way, and maybe even turning off the phone, turning off the podcast, and just listening to the good old fashioned country music or rock music on a radio station. Something as liberating as that is something that I'm going to try to do a lot more after my little phone experience that I had for just one night. But it's given me insight to what's important. And it's not social media, it's not the phone, it's not being tied to it every moment. It's realizing that I can leave it in one room and go outside and not carry it with me everywhere I go. Of course, when I'm working and I need to be available, I'm going to have it with me. But when I'm not at work, when I'm at home, my time, after dinner, I'm going to like disconnect from it a little bit and stay sane and stay and stay connected to myself and not lose myself in a cell phone. And I guess that's my stand up and redo. I'm not going to lose myself in a cell phone. I'm going to stay connected. I'm going to stay connected to me. And thank you. Hi, I'd like to give credit to Sarah Gephardt for the cover page of this podcast. This podcast is a work based on the personal experiences, reflections, and memories of the speaker. The events described are true to the best of the speaker's knowledge and recollection. Some names, locations, identifying characteristics, and timelines have been changed or altered to protect the privacy of the individuals involved. In some cases, composite characters have been created or dialogue has been reconstructed based on memory. The intention of this podcast is not to defame, malign, or harm any individual or entity. Rather, it is to share the speaker's journey with honesty, vulnerability, and integrity. Any opinions expressed are solely those of the speaker and are not intended as statements of fact regarding any person, group, or organization. Listeners should keep in mind that human memory is inherently subjective and selective, and while every effort has been made to ensure accuracy, this podcast reflects the speaker's perspective and truth. Thank you.